Hey, it's going.
This meeting's being recorded. It only started doing that like yesterday, by the way, because we were talking to somebody Monday morning, and we were like, "What's going on?" So it was pretty weird. Did you hear that? Where it just screamed, "This meeting is being recorded" at you?
Yeah, I did hear.
Okay. Yeah, it's a new thing, I guess. So, well, Josh, you know the format because we've already done this.
Yep.
Alan,
done that.
Alan, have you heard any of these? Do you know how we roll it?
No, you didn't run by that. Like,
I'm just gonna do an intro. I guess I'm gonna make. I don't know. You could rock, scissors, paper for who has to do a very short summary, but
you do it.
No, I never do it. I always voice down a guest.
He makes a guest do it.
What?
Hey, I have to write. I learned it because my other podcast, I got to write these long summaries every other episode, right? So here I force the guest to do a short one. Maybe I'll make you rock, scissors, paper when we get into it. I don't know.
Oh no, I'll concede to John.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, we'll just roll right into it and see where it goes. But yeah, Alan, the point is I'll intro it. We'll do that little. You'll give us that short one, and then there is no format in particular. We just kind of tangents are fun, all of that. So welcome to Aural Hygiene. It's the podcast where we talk about educational films, experimental and caught films, and strange documentaries. I guess today is the educational film bracket. It's a weird one. This is Mazes and Monsters, which is Tom Hanks' first starring role, made for TV. Kind of a weird one. But this is Matt. Today with me is Josh Wilson. Hello.
Hey, Matt. Always good to join you. I like it whenever you bust out the topics that are too nerdy for a normal guest. So you call me up. So glad to be here.
All right. Man, we get into some weeds on this one. You can't really claim that. I talked to a guy last week, a friend that predates me knowing you, and we just got into like nerdy gear talk for like 10 minutes. It's like, oh, like there's like only 5 people. No, I mean, it was a good podcast, but and I like listening to it, but I was like, yeah, we got so deep in the gear talk. I was like, should we have done that? It was fun. The other man I used to is another expat hanging out in Japan. We used to teach the kiddies together. It's Alan. Hi, Alan.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me.
And you know why? I've never been able to pronounce your last name. Like, never. So I'll
just
give
it it's French.
I know. So I'll give it the down south. Gaucher,
yeah.
That's how we're going to say
that's
it.
That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine.
But honestly, say it again. Say your name.
So my name is Alain Gaucher.
Yeah, I just can't do that, man. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. But, my own wife can't pronounce my last name, so you're fine.
I said before, like in Japan, we have katakana, so there's a symbol for each sound. And they're like, is it Comegys or Comegys? I'm like, I don't know. Choose which one looks better. It could be Kame, Kama, and they're like, what is it? I don't know. I do know I told them to go with Ma because that one looks more like a booby, but yeah. If anyone knows Japanese, a little bit will know what I mean there. But so I had y'all rock, scissors, paper. Well, I didn't actually. Alan just said you do the plot. So
yeah, I get to be the loser on that one. So today we're talking Mazes and Monsters for cashing in on that almost satanic panic phase where everybody was panicking about Dungeons and Dragons in the 1980s. So Mazes and Monsters is a made-for-TV movie, as Matt said, starring one Tom Hanks in his first starring role, where we see him join a group of kind of misfit college students, certainly one gigantic misfit of a college student, and then 2 pretty normal ones, but they join up in college. They all have family issues, of course, because nobody normal would ever play Dungeons and Dragons. So they all are kind of misfits, and they get together and start playing Dungeons and Dragons. And then one of them decides to take things a little bit too far and they start LARPing, which means they're doing live action role playing. So they go to these caves where it's all dangerous and dark and scary, and it proves to be too much for Tom Hanks' character, and he goes a little cuckoo and starts believing that he is the character in question, and loses his grip on reality, and he runs away to New York because he's following a mystic quest from this god guy named Hall, who is going to get him to level up to the next level. And leveling up to the next level means going to the World Trade Center and jumping off, because then you're going to be able to fly and whatnot. And luckily the friends figure it out and get to him in time before he can jump off. But he is irreparably broken by the dangerous game that is Mazes and Monsters, and he's lost in his fantasies forever as everybody else grows up and leaves behind the dangerous game of Mazes and Monsters, and poor Tom Hanks gets to live at the funny farm, believing he's a like cleric, healer person man. So, and that's how we leave it, all about the dangers of gaming.
But which one of them seems happiest at the end, you know?
He certainly seems happy, that's for sure.
I like the way you added the dangers of gaming.
Oh, yeah. That's what it all is. It's this the educational part, right? They're teaching us how dangerous it is to get involved with such evil things as Dungeons and Dragons.
A couple, not quite hot takes, but things I spoke with both of you guys about pre-mic. And Alan, maybe you don't know, or maybe Josh doesn't know this, but the character's name, Tom Hanks's game character name is
Pardue,
which means
lost in French.
Yeah, I thought that's a little fun.
Not that far off. He is completely lost.
And the other one that really horribly pertains and is and Alan definitely hasn't heard this one, is me getting Josh to shoot some tourist photos of me back in the day. You want to field that one?
I it feels so in such a bad taste now, but remember this was the 90s, and Matt
93.
wanted to make it look like that he was flying, leaping, jumping, I don't know, off of the World Trade Center. So there are pictures somewhere of Matt leaping off of the World Trade Centers. Yeah.
It's just like those shots at the end of Mazes and Monsters, which is kind of cool.
So yeah, this was a doozy. This is actually another one that I've never actually seen before, and I've always heard about, but never actually seen it. And I was actually kind of surprised that it did not go full on with the satanic panic that I thought it was. I thought it was going to be all about, oh, it's Satan and driving people to evil. But no, it's just, hey, it makes people crazy, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. See, earlier in their film, I actually thought it was like JJ who was going to be crazy. He was.
Don't even get me started on JJ. I'm obsessed with JJ. Like my notes watching this, like every other note, the only thing I could focus on is JJ's hats, and it was like, why is he wearing a spiked motorcycle helmet? And why is he wearing an aviator helmet? And then all of a sudden the hat disappears. I'm like, why do you stop wearing hats? This must mean something. I have to know. And they never even addressed it. It drove me nuts. I wanted to go off running to the sewers myself and search for answers, because I could not understand why he was wearing crazy hats in every other scene.
That was his psychosis.
Well, sure. Like I thought it was like him being weird, and then maybe they would address it, but they never addressed it. And then like he was wearing hats in every scene up until about halfway through the movie. Then he stops wearing a hat. Then the hat comes back, and then it goes away again. So like there's no like thematic connection you can make with the hat at all. It's just driving me nuts. It's not there.
Because he's a big fan of the Dr. Seuss's The Hat Came Back.
It was driving me nuts, and they were just so wild and crazy. And then he's a character, that's for sure.
He did go to the cave to off himself. So I mean, there's some.
But that was the original plan, right? And then I thought he was going to try to kill them all, because he was certainly talking about it.
Yeah, that's why I thought this was actually going to turn into some like, Saw sort of thing, like, made for TV Saw from the.
Totally. That's like, again, I thought I was going to lead into the satanic panic, but evidently not. I thought he was going to worship the devil and want to kill them all, but no, it was the other guy that just happens to go crazy. Though it is his fault that poor Tom Hanks went crazy, because he like sent them all down and gave them drugs in the ground and whatever stuff they were looking to find. It snapped poor Tom Hanks' mind. So really, JJ is a sociopath.
Maybe that's why I started cross-dressing on early 80s television. Bosom buddies, yes. One of the reasons I called Alan and for this one is my gaming experience is in the late 80s. We got a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles RPG, got the dice, started reading the book, and we're like, screw this. I went back to the water level of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Nintendo game. So, we were the video game allure, got us. I had a JRPG, video game kick in the early 2000s where I had a DS and lots of train rides, and I think I played every JRPG and some other ones that existed on the DS. But that's my gaming experience. I'm not into tabletop gaming. And Alan, you were trying to tabletop game with us a few years ago. I think you did, and I was like, call me when you're ready to play the piano.
Yeah, we did one or two games with the other teachers. And I am an actual TTRPG player. So yeah, if whatever you want to talk about, got any questions, let's talk about it. Let's have fun about it.
I guess this what is your jam? What game are you doing
right now? Well, I'm actually running with a crew of players online. We have I'm just a cast member now, but we have a live show on Twitch. The group's name is Vorpal Tales, and they run TTRPG games almost twice a day now. So the entire week and weekend is almost fully booked of RPG games. And you can catch us on Twitch. You can catch us on YouTube. And yeah, right now we're jamming on Wednesdays. Well, not in Japan. In Japan is on. Damn, I only have the Japanese word in my head. Mokyobi.
Mokyobi. It's on Mokyobi.
Thursday. On Thursdays, we're here in Japan Thursdays, and in the US on Wednesdays we're walking Fallout right now. And the Fallout TTRPG is actually really good. I'm really enjoying it.
And Josh, I don't know how much of these you've done, because I always got the impression you're like kind of a tabletop gamer for the most part, like the really kind of groovy looking ornate tabletop games.
Well, I mean, that's what I've kind of twisted to in recent years. But no, I played a lot of tabletop RPGs back in high school. Played a lot of D&D, dabbled in a little bit of the White Wolf type of stuff. So I'm more than familiar with the kind of stuff they were talking about in this movie. And not so much in recent years, but I've still got my bona fides, I think, from all the time wasted around tabletops in high school, pretending to be a elven thief. So
I mean, I was doing my own geek. I spent more than half of my last 2 years of high school just hiding in the dark room, making pictures too, I should mention. But but yeah, I remember disappearing for the most part, because I made like half my day schedule where I'm like, I'm in the dark room all day. You need me, find me there.
Yeah. But having that kind of familiarity with doing actual tabletop RPGs, it just kind of took the humor on this film to the upteenth level. I'm sure Alain would agree with me. Number one, thinking that these are probably like the worst dungeon masters ever. I like the one scene that sticks out that I absolutely love is like the guy gives him like with choice, like, here's some gold. It could be riches that could let you retire, or it could kill you. What it's gonna be? And he gets it and he automatically kills them. Like, that's it. It's just like, that is yes or no, and now you're dead forever. Sorry for everything you've worked on over the last however many years.
You're impaled now.
And it made me laugh. The other thing that really made me laugh was the whole scene where they're painting miniatures in quotation marks. And it's like they've got these little paper standee cutouts that they're like trying to paint. Like, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, I do remember seeing a lot of those little die cast things in the comic book stores, and not
because if you were to play with miniatures, you'd actually be playing with actual miniatures and not paper cutouts that you could just I don't know what they came up with that.
No, all my miniatures around here are Star Wars. Yeah, I got Rey and Kylo Ren fighting down there. Although since Skywalker came out, I feel less good about that. But whatever, that's a different story. I of course didn't get all of that because I don't know how this goes down. Something that's coming on this podcast is a couple weeks is like a late 90s Pokemon training card video, right? Where it has like the kids trying to teach the parents, and they have the same sort of reactions like playing Pokemon. Like theirs are like supposed to be stupid and funny, you know?
But you're having them in real life here with role-playing games.
Yeah, they're trying to play a little more like, well, quote unquote seriously. It's still a kind of derpy movie. So I had trouble telling if Tom Hanks is like even acting well or not in this movie. It's Tom Hanks. It seems like Tom Hanks, but something doesn't seem right. I don't know if it's him or the movie, you know.
I mean, look, you've got to give Tom Hanks credit because this was absolutely dreck. It was poor dialogue, poorly written, and yet somehow Tom Hanks still seems to be extremely likable in the role. So, you know, hey, I guess there's a reason why he's a movie star, that he can even turn this into something like I didn't hate watching it. I thought it was ridiculous and insane, so insane, but I didn't feel like I was bored. So, you know, marks for that, I suppose.
Ready Player 4, a Tom Hanks jam. I will admit, it was getting late at night and I still had 30 minutes of this movie. So I did something I've actually never done before and I upped the playback speed, but that made it seem more like a Scooby-Doo show. So that actually kind of, because at that point it's got you know, the other three gamers are looking for their lost Hanks.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It was very Scooby-Doo-ish to the point where they had to bring along his bird for whatever reason, the talking bird. I was like, what, do they need a talking animal to complete their Scooby gang? And we never see the bird again. It must have died on the trip to New York. I don't know. I mean, the movie was like, it starts off, you know, fairly reasonable. Like you've got a group of halfway normal-ish kids until they start talking about this crazy game, and then when they start going into the caves, it just completely goes off the rails when Tom Hanks starts hallucinating just crazy monster man and stabbing it with his dagger, and then he goes missing, and they go to the police, and the police are all of a sudden ready to start blaming mazes and monsters, and they're leaping into maybe some other the players killed him because, you know, they are really into the game, and maybe he's probably dead. Like, whoa, they're making a big leap there.
This guy probably grows up to become what Steve Carell's weatherman and anchorman. I think I may have just killed somebody. And then his other hallucination, talking to the great hog eye, seems to be taking place in a James Bond's, like, you know, gun barrel. I thought that was fun.
or a sewage tunnel.
The thing that came to my mind was the Pee Wee Herman dream sequences in Pee Wee's Big Adventure. It was like that same nothingness, blackness that Pee Wee was having all of his nightmares in. So that's where I went to.
Alan, you said you're a big fan of the soundtrack in this one?
Oh, Lord.
Oh my God. Yeah. No. That movie completely. I never want to see that movie again. That's what. So the soundtrack. Whoever like this. Nope. That person needs to be fired and never like do movies ever again. Because the soundtrack is horrible. It's a horrible soundtrack.
The song was really much like we did a documentary. Also, I guess it would have been like for primetime TV, but Future Shock, which was like this documentary about the book. It had Orson Welles as the host, and it went to a song like this schmaltzy, you know, 70s soft rock jams sort of thing. So.
It's crazy. I started watching it. I'm like, am I watching the right movie? Did I put on Love Story by mistake? Because I feel like this is like a love story song.
So that yeah, but I thought that was fun. They get some new age flute later on. I was hip to that. Actually, one of Al and I's other coworkers, Maddie, was trying to play me new age flute music at lunch yesterday. That was fine. I'd listen to that stuff on the train, I guess. Yeah, reading a book or something. Taking a look through here. I guess we'll talk about. We've already given Tom Hanks enough talk, and JJ a little bit. There are two other players. There's the other guy comes across like it's like he's on the wrong side of Revenge of the Nerds. I wrote this.
He's the cool guy who still plays D&D.
Yeah. I said this man kid Daniel is like a wrong mashup of Revenge of the Nerds stereotypes. So, and
Yeah, I like how they make his big issue why he's a misfit is that he gets to have sex with too many women and he can't have a real relationship, so that's why he's a misfit who plays D&D.
And that's called a couple years in your 20s for a lot of people. Whatever. Yeah, it has sort of like a disaster movie buildup, I guess, because they're trying to show everyone's like family troubles and things like that, and his sex addiction. Hey, this is a pretty early movie for sex addiction. And then what was the girl's issue? Oh, she just couldn't keep a relationship, which she probably keeps dating crazy. That's the problem. You don't date crazy.
She's talking with her mom about how everybody treats her as lesser because she's a woman. She's kind of like a proto-feminist type of move. The sad part is all these people with their broken homes and their parents that are just completely awful at the end are like, you know what? My parents were right. I'm giving up on this game and I'm doing exactly what my parents told me to do. And everything's spiffy now.
It's prime time, early Reagan era prime time TV.
Right. Listen to your parents, kids. Do what they say and you're going to be happy. Not like the crazy Tom Hanks guy.
Do it for the Gipper. But yeah, I mean, there was that weird, again, satanic panic. There's that weird morality. I don't know. I was kind of actually glad to see them like take at least a slightly different angle. I would, because I was also expecting.
Yeah, it wasn't what I was expected. And then it's actually kind of loosely based on a true story.
The kid lost in the cave or something. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's kind of, so the actual story was it was a guy who just happened to play Dungeons and Dragons, and he had severe mental issues, and went to go kill himself, and he went into the caves to swallow some pills to kill himself, and it didn't work, and so he just took off and went and moved in with some friends. And meanwhile, the parents didn't know where he was. They hired a private investigator. The private investigator looks into him, finds out that he played Dungeons and Dragons, and sometimes they played down into the caves, and then makes this great giant leap that, it must have been because of Dungeons and Dragons, and starts giving interviews with the press and stuff like that. And the press, takes that story and runs with it because that's what they did at that point in time. And everybody's worried about fearful of the state of the children. And even though later on, like, he found out that the issue with the guy had nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons, and I think he wrote a book later on to kind of clear it all up, but the story was already out there, and people still this day still just like you, like, oh yeah, it's the kid that went and killed himself down in the sewers, but that's not what happened.
Yeah,
but
it's like,
but they wrote it,
like, I know, Priest.
Right. I mean, this novelist who wrote the book that this movie was based off of just took the story and then wrote whatever she wanted to. So yeah, and that's how the story propagates, I guess.
I like the how the Mr. Show distillation of that whole thing, where the band goes to visit the kid in the hospital. He's like, hey, it's you guys. Hey, I listened to your song Try Suicide right before I tried suicide. And then when it turns out he's going to follow them on tour and he's a freak now, they write the song Try Again, this in memory of the kid. So just a little fun satanic panic, joking around the late 90s. You get around with it then. I always wondered, like, why is Tom Hanks on this like weird conservative Christian film? But now knowing it's like a mental illness thing, it makes a lot more sense.
Right.
I'm like, okay, now I get it. So it's only a few stages from Philadelphia. He could have won an Oscar for this. If it wasn't a TV film, he would have won an Oscar for it. The game itself, what did I write? I just wrote, we need more Enochian symbols on the game table.
I will give it that much. Like, for all the gobbledygook that they were muttering about these, this game and all the fake stuff going on, like, it wasn't taken from anywhere else that I'm aware of, but it still sounded like it could completely be a legit role-playing game. So even though it was all nonsense, I could believe it actually existed.
I guess they were concerned about the Dungeons and Dragons lawyers or something. I mean, well,
sure.
You couldn't give it that name anyway. And they didn't make a Dungeons and Dragons movies until like somewhat recently, I think, and it was terrible if I remember.
Yeah, I think it was early 2000s
Back in
when they
the
made
early
that movie.
2000s, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I never watched the Doom movie, but sometime it might be fun to actually, especially 20 years later, those might have a certain charm to them now. I don't know, or the dodgy CGI might be too much.
I feel like you might have a whole podcast that might be looking at that kind of thing. I don't know.
I technically could get away with on this one probably, but like it came out, it's like, oh, what does this podcast really do? Oh, it's whatever Matt wants to watch, which sort of, I guess, might be correct on that. Yeah. My youthful gaming nights and my recent adult gaming, I went in with the Texas Hold'em craze a little bit. What was that, 10-15 years ago? But the one that I really loved was, and I was playing this one, I was like 25, was a Fireball Island. Did any of you guys ever hit that one?
Yeah, I know all about Fireball Island.
Board game, right?
It's a board game. Classic board game. Funnily enough, they did an updated version of Fireball Island about 5 years ago.
Oh, okay, because my friend's wife at the time had to get it off eBay, and it was like $100.
Yeah, and then they released a new version with all new rules and kind of like updated it for the modern age. Yep.
Okay.
So it's out there for you if you want it, Matt.
All right, because we like to say that particular game teaches kids about like deceit and disappointment. Want your kids to learn what it's like to get backstabbed. You play Fireball Island. Of course, we were a bunch of people, drinking bourbon and playing it, so that probably didn't help. But
well, I mean, that just makes it better. I mean, you're just moving around waiting for the fireball to hit you, right? Waiting for the marbles to come down after you and knock you down.
The metaphoric one as well as the real one. Going into caves, I don't know. I guess going into a cave is a bad call.
I've never done any live action role playing, so I don't know if I'd want to go driving into caves. And then the crazy thing is, they're like, all right, we're in the cave, let's all split up. I'm like, why would you do that? It's crazy.
Because they're having fun.
Sure.
I used to have a bad predilection for just going into caves. I took actually some of Josh and my high school classmates. I once took them splunking, not being qualified to do that. And then
headline: Matt kills entire explorers club.
Yeah, and then in the California desert. So this was like, first you have to drive to like this town that barely exists, and then you drive another 20 minutes on a little road. And we found like it looked like an 1800s like mining site. I'm like, let's explore the caves. which we did. It was dangerous. I mean, there's just like shafts that instantly take you to nowhere and things like that. So they got
what's more dangerous, the caves or the subway tunnels underneath New York?
Oh yeah. You get the train. Like, I'm thinking that the recent Ghostbusters scene, that was fun.
Because spelunking under the subway tunnels in New York and meets the nicest homeless man he ever could hope to meet underneath those caves. Who sends them on his.
That's the movie I want to see, where those two become like best buds.
It would be a much more interesting movie. And instead, we had to get the climax that makes you feel really weird on the inside when they go breaking into the World Trade Center and you see how bad security is, and they can just go wherever they want to there. Like, ooh, that didn't age well.
No. Oh, here we go. I said they could have, if they had gone with that homeless guy narrative, they could have called the movie King Shit of the Morlocks. Because I couldn't remember what the leader of the Morlocks was called in the X-Men version.
Much more interesting. I was really disappointed about those scenes in New York, because he takes off on Halloween. He's wearing his live action role playing costume, his robes, and he's got his powers for magic spells. But when he goes to New York, he's not wearing it. Why isn't he wearing it? He stabs the greaser guy with like a pocket knife, but he had this cool boss dagger. Why didn't he get stabbed with this boss dagger? I was very disappointed.
Yeah,
should have been full on cosplay.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the dagger, cost a lot at the convention, so I didn't want to bloody that thing. But or maybe Robbie's just like enlightened now, and everyone else is crazy. That could be what's going on. Yeah, when they were like, "Oh, I know where we can look for him." half expected the next scene to like open up at like a medieval times. There's Robbie with the medieval times. I mean, that's the place to go.
Yeah, totally. And they have medieval times in 1981. Maybe that was his problem. He just went crazy too soon.
Yeah, went a little too much cray cray. As a ardent Trekkie, I also enjoyed the sex
Spock reference.
Yeah, we're all like Mr. Spock from Star Trek. Like that baby Spock guy.
Gotta cram in all the geek references they can, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. I really question who this movie was made for, because I guess, housewives of the 1980s. I guess that's who it was made for.
No, it's in the title, man. It's made for TV. This movie is for TV. It's for TV
just to be on
enjoy.
TV.
Because a person can't quite enjoy this movie.
No, I don't think so.
TV does what it will.
It's a much more interesting concept than anything in this movie.
How does the haircut rank in this movie? The haircuts, because there was definitely a time when these haircuts had aged. I think they've gotten back to cool again. These are actually like hip styles again, aren't they?
Are they really though?
I don't know.
I don't know.
No.
It's better in late 80s hair, because late 80s hair, especially because you'll take like a young starlet, 22-year-old, and tease out her hair, give her like a high cut bikini, and suddenly she's 22, and she's attractive, but for some reason she still suddenly looks like she's like 55.
I don't know, it's interesting because Tom Hanks just had Tom Hanks hair. Like he had the same haircut throughout the entire 2 decades that he first started acting. So it was like I didn't really stop to think about the haircut, because it was just the Tom Hanks haircut.
Maybe that's why it didn't look so dated. And then JJ's got his hat. You don't see his hair.
Right.
Kate's not teased out in the way that I just mentioned. So, yeah. Oh, I guess this is the psychotic snap, but the like celibacy, sure. And especially in university. I mean, that takes some. In university, come on, that's dedication. I mean, considering he's already getting it. I mean, there are cases, I guess, where I'm like, yeah, that come on.
That's probably the least believable out of all the unbelievable things in this movie. The least believable thing is that Tom Hanks, even crazy, would decide he's going to be celibate, as a nerd finally getting some.
Yeah, that was horrible. Those damn RPG games, they just become your whole life, man. Oh. You're all a LARPing now, man. This isn't real life.
I'm sure that was probably the whole point, right? Because the idea was, if anybody would watch this and think that anybody would choose a game over sex, we think, oh my God, the power this game must have is crazy. Nobody would ever really do that.
Because nobody would really ever do that.
Right.
Josh, you said you've never live action role played. Alan, how about you?
Oh yeah, I've liked.
Okay. I've never done it formerly, but I do remember like going to malls and pretending we're Russian tourists. And again, same New York trip. Maybe with Josh, were you in that thing where we decided to act like European tourists through the MoMA?
I do seem to remember that, yes.
Okay, maybe. So you have live action role played in that sense.
I guess that's their fashion.
And everyone would talk to us. We'd like start speaking German to them or something. So hey, you get a weird thought in your head, and you're LARPing. You're LARPing now. So I guess we'll wind down this particular movie. But are there any particular thoughts you want to throw out before I strike the bell?
No, we can throw out that movie.
Okay, cool. Because I don't have a bell or anything either.
I just want to know about the hats, man. Somebody out there, please just tell me what the deal with the hats is, and I can live in peace and never think about this movie ever again.
It's got a good name. I like it. I mean, let's give it. It's a fake name, but Mazed and Monsters. Okay, that works about.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole alliteration thing to go along with it. Yeah, I mean, it works.
Yeah. So, well, Alan, you already mentioned if people want to see you doing the more modern version of gaming, you got a website to throw out on that. That was the fall.
Oh yeah, let me pull that up real quick so I get the actual slash into it.
That's one.
So pretty much every day. Here, let's take a look real quick. So you can go to twitch.tv/Vorpaltales. So that's VORTA. Whoa, sound. So that's twitch.tv/Vorpaltales. So VORPALTALES. And on YouTube, pretty much the same thing. I don't play every day. I'm on US time, Eastern time, like it starts at about 9. And now I actually have to get up here in Japan. I have to get up at 3:30 in the morning to get ready for gaming. Some people might think that's crazy, but because of time difference, I have to be up at that time, right? So yeah, we're multitude of game right now. They've got Dune running. There's a TTRPG Dune book that came out recently that's really well done, really good. I'm playing Fallout. I'm playing Unknown Armies. Josh mentioned White Wolf earlier, so basically World of Darkness or Chronicles of Darkness. For World of Darkness, I'm playing M20, so May's 20th anniversary soon. But yeah, I've been, as you can hear, I've been role-playing for a very long time. Started role-playing, I was, 12, 13, and I'm 42, 43 now. So I've been TTRPGing for most of my life, and I didn't go crazy.
You're still 42. I have to tell you.
Yet. So we'll leave it at yet.
Yet. Maybe when
obviously
I get
these
to
games
80...
have that power.
I'll tell you my level of ignorance, because you sent me the Twitch, and I was talking to Luke, who's on this podcast, and the Sci-Fi Sanctuary. I'm like, it just seems like this one girl's talking the whole time. And he's like, yeah, that's because she's probably the dungeon master. I was like, oh, okay. So
yeah.
Well, that's why I made sure to bring in 2 gamers, because I don't know what I'm talking about. And then Josh, I guess your world's opening up again. Is there any gaming stuff going on in your future?
I mean, hopefully, I'm hoping to make it back to Gen Con this year, so I still do that. But we'll see. I'm vaccinated, so hopefully, going out and playing games again is not going to kill me. One hopes.
Now, Japan, we're like, hey, let's have the Olympics and not roll out anything and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still didn't haven't started vaccinating yet.
We actually, Alain and I wouldn't be able to get one now anyway. So
yeah, we were technically on, you and I were technically at the head of everybody because of what we have. And now, because we're technically don't have it anymore, we're back down on the list.
Yeah.
No.
No, Japan's at 2% at best at the moment, though. So,
Uh,
well, you gotta stay safe. That's scary.
Actually, Nagano there's not much going on here.
Well,
I mean,
it's picking up. My doctor did tell me, she told me, you need to kind of be careful now because it's starting to pick up here in Nagano City. Not as bad as Ueda or Matsumoto, but it's starting to pick up here in Nagano City a little bit. So she told me, I'm going to kind of have to be careful.
I spend most of my time outside, but it's mostly in rice fields where there's no people. So probably
then you're fine.
So anyway, we've been live action role playing the whole time. We're different people, man. My name is
right.
Zaruth, the mystic of Galbrain reality.
I'm really beef hard cheese.
Come on, Alan, you're on the spot. You can do it French if you want.
What?
Give us your bullshit name now.
I don't have a bullshit name, man. I don't know. Zoltan of Grimcaw or something like that.
See, this stuff just rolls off the tongue, man.
Yeah.